Yeah. So I think after Dan Christian, we want. I imagine we've all got a similar sort of bowling lineup. They were very dependent on their spinners last year with Sundar and Chahal. Um, and then so Siraj and Saini are the obvious paces. And then the question is, do you go for Jamison in your team? They'll probably definitely start with Jamison, but in the long run, I could easily see them playing Sams or Zampa.
But
Um,
Kane Richardson as well.
yeah, why?
I mean, probably not, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's what I've only heard people saying that. I haven't heard people saying playing Sams and Christian.
I reckon like, oh yeah, but Sam's balls like the cutters, and that's for what you want on like Indian wickets.
I think that obviously they have to start Jamison because of how much they paid for him.
Yeah,
Like they had Morris there last year. Like they actually downgraded and lost money. Like that's actually
Well, we
pretty
don't
poor.
know that Jemison's going to be terrible just because he got smashed in one international T20 series. He could be great in India. He might just be just that might have just been
That
a
is true. I
one-off.
mean, he has talent. We can't deny that. Like
yeah.
Yeah.
he's
But
brilliant
just
player.
judging off what we've seen, like we can only judge off what we've seen, and what we've seen right now is not great.
He just doesn't seem to have the variations that like a Morris has.
Or
But
Sam's has.
yeah. One thing I'd say about Siraj and Saini is that one thing they have over previous years is that now they've got really decent international form, or more so Siraj under their belt. They've got good experience in Australia, and that will probably give them a lot of confidence going forward. And I think that could be the difference between how they perform this year and previous years. Um, yeah, especially Siraj, and yeah, I think he had that one game where he got like 3 wickets in the power play or something like that, and he can easily be a power play bowler, good power play bowler, the way he bowled in Australia.
Yeah. He had one really good game from what I remember. I mean, that's what I was gonna say. We forgot what a good batsman Saini was. Maybe he could bat at
Yeah,
3 or 4 with
Sonny
his
has
one day
averaged
average of
92 in one days.
yeah.
Audience. And they say if you get your batting average above your bowling average, and he's just managed to do that.
Yeah. The reason I like Sam's over Jemison is because they need death bowlers most of all. RCB they're going to have good bowlers in the power play. They have good wicket takers, but what they've struggled with in the past and what they don't have this year is a good death bowler, and that's what Sam's does. Jemison is not a death bowler. Jemison can be a good wicket taker. He can get strikes, but I don't think they're going to want him bowling at the death. Like that could just he could just get absolutely whacked like he did when playing Australia.
That actually does. I
Um,
never actually thought for some reason. I never thought Sam's and Christian. I thought it had to be between them, but it actually makes a lot of sense. And that's batting until number 8 because probably Sam's ahead of Sundar, and Sundar can still bat. So that actually looks pretty decent. And it also takes the bowling load a bit off Christian, which is probably better for them as well. Plus Maxwell can bowl. Like that actually looks pretty decent.
I mean, I think Christian will still be a sixth bowler, to be honest. I don't think they're going to bowl him that much.
Yeah. So I think it will mostly be like Sundar opening with probably Siraj, and then that leaves that Sam's higher for the death, Sam's Jameson, and we think that Jameson can't do that role, so it does make sense to go Sam's.
Yep.
What does the RCB fan think?
So originally, so a few days ago, I put RCB at third, but then I re-looked at the team and I was like, bowling wise, we're not looking the greatest. So I put us right down to like sixth or seventh. But I just think like if we get our batting right, and then Jamison keeps it somewhat tight, and Siraj shows the international form he's shown, I think we can make playoffs. So I put us fourth.
Okay. I mean, I think any team at their best like looks like they could win the IPL. Like everyone plays to their
Yeah,
potential. There's
exactly.
no team that like they'd actually just look bad. It's just about consistency, I think. But I've actually put RCB in second. Um, I like RCB's team this year, and I don't like RCB much. Just get that straight. But they're playing it like they relied. What the difference between RCB last year and other years was their spin bowling, particularly Chahal, who was pretty much the best bowler in the tournament, except for maybe Bumrah. Chahal and Sundar now on Indian pitches. They should be stronger. And they've got the Siraj and Saini now have international experience. Their bowling lineup doesn't look as shaky as it has in the past because it wasn't that like it was okay last year, and that's what got them to that playoffs again.
I think arguably it was Morris though. Like he took a handful of wickets when he came into the side.
Jahal did more. Jahal was very, very
Yeah, true,
important.
true.
I agree with Will. Just a few things. Firstly, the only thing about Chahal is that his international form is a bit worrying, and the way England took him apart would like other teams would have an eye on that, and that might be a bit bad for them. But he should be able to win himself. And then two other things. Firstly, Ryan, do you know like where they're playing? Because I don't know if you know that.
The first three games are in Chennai. Oh no, they can't be.
I think they are. Yeah, I think it's.
He just played
like-
Hyderabad
yeah.
3 times anyway.
Yeah,
So
first three
straight
games.
away, that helps the Washington. That's his home ground for State and Chahal combination. And the other thing, this is just a little side note, but like Siraj has been mentored by Jasprit Bumrah this summer, so you never know. You might have told him a few tricks for the white ball game, and that could help a lot.
Maybe.
I just
I think
think
all the games at the start are
combination-
Chennai or Mumbai, aren't they? I was just gonna say, like, I think it's all one of the two.
Yeah. So I put them in third. I also put them in third last year, and they were pretty much there for the whole year, and then they crumbled off at the end. I think this team is pretty much the same. They've added Maxwell for Moeen, which I think is an upgrade, and then Jameson for Morris. We don't know yet, but it's looking like probably a downgrade, but that one's a bit more debatable. Maxwell, like one of the most talked players in IPL. I don't think they actually need him to be that good for them because De Villiers and Kohli probably make up for him more than he would in like the Punjab side, for example.
I'd say arguably like Christian / Sam's is a huge upgrade on whatever we had before because I think we played.
Well, you had Morris before.
So who do you actually
No,
have?
no. So we had who do we have? Who were the 4 internationals we had last year? I remember. No, yeah, we had Finch, De Villiers, Finch /
Yeah,
Philippe.
because
De
Finch.
Villiers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so
instead
Christian
of
or
Finch-
Sam's over Finch or Philippe. It's like it's a huge upgrade.
Yeah, true. Because that lower order player adds a little bit more confidence to the top as well.
Yeah, I feel
And
like
they lost.
and
Yeah, so I think it was basically it's Morris. They probably had Finch and Dubé, and now they have like Azharuddin and Christian, basically.
But one thing I will say is Christian, it's easy to get hyped about Christian and Sam's because we've seen them in the Big Bash, but the IPL is
True,
very
yeah.
different to the Big
Yeah,
Bash.
exactly.
I don't expect Sam's to really perform.
Christian,
He's not
I'll
just,
just take
he's
a
just not good
quick
enough.
look at
What we saw
Christian.
at the international level.
yeah, fair enough.
I think Christian could be good, but I don't know how consistent he's going to be against really, really quality players. Because even in the Big Bash, like he didn't bowl that much.
There were games he absolutely got whacked.
Yeah, like when lots of he actually stopped sort of bowling with the second half of the tournament. He wasn't bowling too much. He was a clear like 6th or 7th option for the Sixers. And he mostly was just there as a pinch hitter. So it's going to be interesting to see how RCB use them. But it's just so hard to look past Kohli, De Villiers, and Maxwell all in one team. Like that's some serious firepower.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, so Christian has played like 40 games in the RPL, so he's not new to it. Average is 17 though, high score of 40, and with the ball, he got 34 wickets at 8 and over.
But
So that's like we take that.
he seems to be in like the form of his life though in T20 wise.
Some people even say he deserves that spot in the Australian team, but that's a whole nother debate. But yeah, I think that pretty much wraps up RCB then. So we've all rated them pretty high.
Yep.
So who's next?
Mumbai.
The most boring team to talk
To be
about.
honest, like there's really not much
Good.
like to say because we all have the same team.
I mean, yeah, it's just who's your fifth bowler is the
It's just exactly the same as last year. Like I've kept Coltonal and Bolt as my 2 international seamers.
I think they'll go for Milne over Coulton.
They'll go for Milner.
Yeah, I've heard that, but I think Coltonal can bat at number 8. Not that they've ever had to rely on that number 8.
Yeah, but that's the thing. They don't. Shouldn't factor at all. It should be purely on bowling because they don't need that extra batsman.
Yeah, maybe. I've been always kind of biased to Cosmo. I just like him. But Milne has been pretty impressive lately in various forms, like in the Big Bash and for New Zealand.
Yeah. I mean, what's the weakness of this Mumbai team, would you say? We all know what the team's going to be. What do you think is their weakness?
The spin options.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Rahul Chahar, he's okay. I think Krunal Pandya has kind of declined a lot in recent times, and he's kind of overrated a little bit.
A lot, I
Yeah.
think. I actually don't think when the first few games in China, I don't think Krunal Pandya should play. Actually, that's the one change I make to this team. I think they should go for Chawla and Chahar over Krunal Pandya as more like permanent spin options, not part time. And I just don't think I wouldn't mind that because they are playing in Chennai. Spin's going to be important, and they do have the weakest spinning lineup in the IPL. That's like pretty much like definitely do. Well, Hul Chahar is okay, but
I also have Jayan Yadav.
for sure. Well, yeah. So that is a spot where they could come undone this season if there's like really turning pitches, especially if they're playing in Chennai a lot. We know how good Chennai have been in the past with teams full of spinners. So
Can you say like one of the
maybe that's the
seamers is
one.
more likely to get dropped than Gunampanya?
Who, sorry?
Like one of the seamers, like that international spot between Coulter and Milne. You could argue
Maybe.
because Pollard and Hardik Pandya kind of cover that sort of role.
But is Krunau that important to this team? But I think he'll play, but
I don't know. There was like a huge deal about having the two brothers and Pollard in the middle order. That's why
It's more like a
their
nostalgia kind of thing.
a lot
Like
higher than everyone else's.
yeah.
This is one more weakness. This is more light-hearted, but their weakest top order player or weakest top 5-6 batsman is actually Rohit Sharma.
Rohit Sharma, yeah.
I'd say Kishan, but you know.
Rohit Sharma averages less than 30 in the last 4 IPLs. And less than 25 in like 2 of them.
Kishan was gone though last year.
Yeah, I mean,
I think imagine like how good Mumbai are right now. Like we all know how good they are. Imagine how good they'd be if Rohit Sharma actually performs. Like that's crazy.
he sometimes does. Like he or Cock often make like a 70 or 80, or they do not.
I mean, like for the whole season consistently, but that's the nature of their team. They don't even need him to. Like I think Pandya didn't have to do much at all last year, and he can still be the best player.
But that I mean, I think they have to use Pandya more this year. Even though they won last year, I think they should be looking to put him at 4 whenever possible. Like you should, the way Pandya's playing, you just try and get him out there. Unless they lose 2 wickets in the first 7 or 8 overs, always put in Pandya before Kishan at 4, I think, and let him face as much as possible. Because you've already got Pollard as the power hitter down the order. You don't need the death batting from Pandya and Pollard. You put Pandya at 4 whenever possible, I think.
Yeah, a couple of things. So I think the India series like showed a few things about these players. So obviously the way Pandya batted in that third one-day game, I think, where they were like in trouble, but he just decided to hit sixes straight away because why not? Plus his bowling, was actually not bad. So I think they'll probably want to bowl him more often. Yeah, he's their 6th bowler, and then also Kishan. Like if Kishan and Yadav can hit straight away, so it doesn't actually matter if they promote Pandya and have one of them lower because it all makes up.
Because Hardik normally takes a little bit of it depends. I think it depends on the game. And I think he goes after the spin pretty early.
Yeah, if you have spin in, you might just send Pandya in no matter what the situation because he pretty much takes them all down.
The one other international player they could play is Nisham. They've got at the moment. He's always all right, Nisham. Like he's never that terrible.
To be fair, I think Nisham will play the first game because Pollard is not out of
De Kock's not playing, so
what?
Yeah, De Kock's not there for the first.
All the South Africans aren't playing.
Yeah, so it'll probably be Lin and Nisham because Pollard and De Kock are still in quarantine.
Oh yeah, got Lin.
Yeah,
and I'm just saying, imagine Lin goes and hits like 80 off 30 in the first game. What's that going to do to the Mumbai team? What do you do?
They don't even need because Kishan can keep as well. So like,
I don't think De Kock could be kept out, but they'd probably just drop that international pace. So I guess I don't know what they do. It'd be interesting.
Well, like Lynn's probably in that situation where like he can't even if he does well, like they probably just keep the cock anyway, right? Like probably. But it is a funny like conundrum that they could have.
It's the kind of thing you do, Chris Lynn, to be honest. You just see him hitting that.
One weakness they could have, this is like an if situation, but if Jasprit Bumrah gets injured, that throws off their team a lot, arguably.
Yeah. I mean, I really rate Trent Bolt, but I do see what you mean.
I'm just looking at the next Indian pace bowler is like Dawal Kulkarni.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, like we don't know much about him, and that pretty much says it all.
Well, I imagine they'd probably play Milne and Coulton Isle in that case, and then
Yeah.
Yeah, and then probably play like an extra Indian.
then you will have to drop De Kock or Pollard. You'd probably drop Pollard. Well,
Because what they did last year, didn't they actually play Tawari ahead of Kishan at the start, and then Kishan came. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. They probably put what's his name, Kashan up top, and then Tawari at 4.
Yeah.
I think in that situation they'd have to drop Pollard. Yeah, you put into
One last thing, they brought in this guy Marco Jansen. I've never heard of him. But
Yeah, I saw that.
some random South African guy. He's a year older than us. They bought him for like pretty cheap as well. Like, I wonder what they're thinking behind that is. Like, that could be interesting.
You'd bring good chat to the change rooms.
Yeah. Just a South African mate for the cock, maybe.
Yeah. So where's everyone ranked Mumbai this year?
First.
Yeah, first. Yeah. Like they're too good to not finish first, to be honest, or at least not in the top 2. Like they have I would argue they actually still have the strongest top 3 pretty much in the tournament. It's very good, except for maybe Punjab. And then the middle order is the best in the tournament, except for maybe Kolkata. And then the pace bowling's almost the best in the tournament as well. Like they're in the top 2 or 3 teams in every department except for maybe spin bowlers.
Yeah, like it's too good. I think we can do our finals predictions at the end, but like you wouldn't be the worst bet to have them winning again this year.
So Punjab is next.
I'll start.
Always interesting.
I'm just gonna say, like being a Punjab fan the last few years, it's just they're either on a 5-game winning streak or a 5-game losing streak. That feels like whenever they're playing. And this year, I'm just gonna put zero expectation on the team and just take what I can get. Really, like, that's kind of like spoiling my prediction. But like, I'm actually putting them as the bottom team because like, yeah.
I mean, they haven't made the finals since 2014, which is quite a lot of IPL seasons, considering half the teams make the finals. But yeah, I mean, the big question right off the outset is, does Chris Gale play? What do you guys think?
I'm gonna say yes. I'm not gonna play David Milan, so I'm gonna have Agarwal, Rahul, Gale, Nicholas Puran as my top 4, and I think that's pretty explosive. And nowadays, Gale takes a little bit of time as well to get in, and that's why he's number 3, I'd say. And I think he's still better than Milan, even though Milan's number 1 rated. I think he's still too inexperienced, and Gale is just the most experienced T20 batter there is. And Milan was kind of not that good in the India series, and that was in India, which is a pretty big factor.
I will say I do have Gale in my team, but I would probably have Gale opening. And Rahul at 3. I think that would make more sense because he takes more time to get going. Maybe you want Gale in at the start, and you want Gale as an opener. I think you either play him for like pretty much the whole season, or you don't play him at all. You don't.
Well, I never thought of Gale like that until last year when they did have about 3, and he scored runs at number 3. But the thing, yeah, you're right about KL Rahul because he's kind of like changed his game and he's not like a big explosive opener anymore. So yeah. Ryan, do you have any thoughts so far?
Yeah, I'm still going with your top 4, Arjun. The one they had last year, I think just worked well. Yeah. It's just the problem about like chewing up doubles at the start with KL Rahul. But I don't know, like Gale is kind of playing that role as well. Like he still takes a bit of time like to get in. So
I think that's just because he's old and lazy, to be honest. Like he doesn't run quick singles.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like they're definitely the best top four, but there's still definite issues there that they need to address. Like,
I'll just go on it for a little bit. So Rahul, I feel like he wants to anchor more because he's captain. He probably feels like he needs to take the responsibility, and just because of how weak the back end of that batting is, he doesn't have He's always thinking like, if I get out, we're kind of screwed. And the main problem with Punjab is their batters can't bowl and their bowlers can't bat, and that ruins the balance of their team. So number 5, 6, 7. I mean 5 and 6, and then we'll go bowlers because they don't really have all rounders that should play.
Well, I have one all-rounder that I think should play. And
Well,
that's
actually,
Moses
there's two
Henriques.
there's two all rounders that are very good signings. Enriquez and Fabian Allen are both very decent signings, but it just can't work because of how much they've spent on Riley Meredith, and Jordan is also.
Yeah, I
It's
love
not
Riley
like
that's
Meredith,
the
but
whole
it does
debate.
bemuse me a bit.
And it's not like Jordan is a cheap player as well. That's the funny thing.
Yeah.
So Jordan, Richardson, and Meredith. I know we're kind of going on a different path here, but like whatever. The two of those three have to play, in my opinion, just because of how much they've spent on them.
I didn't think that you should take into account how much you spent. You should pick your best team. It just shouldn't matter.
Right. Well, I still think Jordan is so if I have Jordan at 7, I don't think that's that bad. Like it is pretty shaky, but because then I think it's too low. Would you have Enriquez higher up and have like a batter at 7 then?
I mean, I would want Puran and Henriques to be my 4 and 5. I think with Deepak Huda as 6. I think Henrique he can help this team a lot. It's exactly what they need. He's a solid batsman. He fits in the middle order really well. It's where he bats for the sixes. And I don't know how much he'll be utilized as a bowler, but he is that bowling option if they need it. And I think no Milan, sadly. I did like Milan. And I think if Gale plays badly, Milan can easily come in as the 3. But you just go for Puran and Henriques in that middle order. And it doesn't look that bad if it's Puran and Henriques with Huda 6, in my opinion.
So I've gone for Huda at 5, and then 6. I've gone for this guy they've spent a decent money on. It's Shah Rukh Khan. He's at number 6.
yeah.
I think he can bowl a bit as well, apparently. And then because I still want to play Jordan and Jai, so have those two, 7 and 8. I'm right.
Yeah, I'm just thinking because if we play Henriques, that means you only have Jai. I guess Jai and Shami would finish the bowling, so I think that's fine.
Yeah, the question is that what do you have to either whoever you play out of Jai or Jordan, they have to bat 7, which is a bit questionable.
Yeah.
I think they could, if they play Enriquez, that he'd be like he'd come in and then you have an extra batter at 7. Like he plays as the 7 but promoted. If that makes sense.
Okay, but you have him bowling 4 overs?
You have to have him and Huda bowling.
Yeah, or that new guy.
Well, him, Huda, and then probably Shah Rukh Khan as well. Or
Yeah, will he be? That's in. Yeah, and I mean, Henriques has not been bowling much for anyone, if we're going to be honest.
that's
Like,
why
he didn't bowl much for the Sixers. He
Yeah.
doesn't bowl much for New South Wales.
he bowled for Australia a little bit, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
He bowled well for Australia though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that was only ever as a backup. He was never one of the main 5 bowlers. And I think he is only a 6th bowler at this age.
Right.
But I don't know how much Khan and Huda can bowl, to be honest.
Yeah, Huda bowled a bit.
So you're not going to consider Mandeep Singh?
Mandeep doesn't really bowl. He doesn't bowl as well.
No. I mean, in terms of Huda. But yeah, I guess Huda bowls.
I prefer Huda. I don't mind Huda.
They also have Sarfaraz Khan, but I think that's a bit too low for American, and he doesn't really bowl as well, so not the best option.
Who are our bowlers? So you've gone for both Jai and Jordan, aren't you?
So I've gone for Jai and Jordan, which means you only need one Indian pacer, and that's Mohammad Shami. I think he's back. You obviously broke his arm in Australia, but I think he should be back. And then the 2 leg spinners, Murugan Ashwin and Ravi Bishnoi. They're both pretty decent. But unfortunately for Punjab, they offered 0 with the bat. But yeah, that's just the way it is.
Yeah. So I didn't have Jordan. I went for Jai, but I could easily see them playing Jordan instead. And I've gone for Arshdeep Singh as that next Indian pacer.
Fair enough.
Who I think it has to be if there is going to be one.
Yeah.
And then just Ashwin and Bishnoi. I rate Bishnoi. I think Bishnoi's quite good. I don't know
Yeah,
about Ashwin yet, but
I really
I,
like
I
Bishnoi,
like
yeah.
Bishnoi.
Him and Sanga are probably my favorite young spinners right now. Or like the only good young spinners I can think of anyway.
But will Wiley ever get a go in this team? Is another good question.
I mean,
If Jordan gets smacked again, maybe.
you'd think so because it's a $3 million if not anyway.
Well, that's the thing. It has to be bowler for bowler because they don't have people that can. They don't have batters who can bowl and bowlers that can bat.
So what they did last year, they played Sheldon Cottrell a lot. So maybe he can be that person instead of Sheldon Cottrell.
I mean, I can easily see one or both of Puran and Gale just being really terrible. Like it could easily happen. Puran, like he played for the Stars. It was just yikes. So then there could be certainly spots for more international bowlers.
One more player they have
But then
is,
you have to play.
sorry.
Then that's a really long tail.
Yeah, I mean, you probably have to Milan in that team, I suppose.
I mean, imagine if it was Jai at 7, Meredith at 8, or like Ashton at 8. Like that is too long.
Yeah, that's ropes.
But I could see Milan getting going this big bash. To be honest, I like you
mean
can't
I
underrate
think, yeah.
Milan.
Yeah, but it'd be like for like. It'd be like him for Gale or him for Poran.
Yeah, like Milan
the
over
layout of
Gale
the
in
team might
particular.
change.
That's what I mean.
I'm not a huge fan for him, but like it probably would make more sense to have someone stable in the team and he can get going.
As opposed to Chris Gale, who's the least stable person I know.
Chris Gale could make like a 10 off 20 or like 50 off 10 or something. I don't know. Something
Or
like
harass
that.
a reporter.
Yeah.
Just anything.
But one more player I'm trying to bring up, Fabian Allen. I think that he could be, if they do the Enriquez thingy of having him as a bowler batter, Allen's the opposite version because he's a spinner as well. That could work for them. That's pretty much all their personnel that they have. Where do you guys see them coming this season?
6th or 7th, to be honest.
Yeah, I also said 6th. I don't see them making the finals, to be honest. They just don't like they
There's
don't
not much flexibility.
They don't bat that deep, and their bowling attack just isn't quite as good as other teams, I think. And it's a good like Rahul Nagrawal can score really well, but they were amazing last year. Rahul Nagrawal had really good tournaments, and they still didn't make the playoffs. So they're gonna have to have some big performances from either Puran or Henriques, or their bowling to just dramatically improve, I think, to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I think the team's way too rigid. There's no flexibility with the batting or bowling. And they just have a tendency to crumble, and that's why I put them in last this season. I think there's other teams that just look stronger than they do. But I still wouldn't be surprised if they do well somehow. But yeah.
So it's like the typical like problem with the 5th bowler and then the lower order struggles.
Yeah.
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 It's like what the Indian team is like for a while.
Yeah, they're kind of a mirror of like a bad Indian team. Yeah.
Yeah.
So next up, KKR. KKR are always interesting to
very, very, very interesting team. I just want to say.
The team is like very like completely different to everyone else. If you think about it.
Yeah, because their internationals are like sandwiched in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it feels like they have the worst top 3, but the best middle order in the competition. It's like a strange dynamic.
Yeah, they have a few issues to fix.
Yeah.
One of them, being with their opening batters not scoring quick enough. Despite that, I still have the same opening pair last year. So I've got Tripathi and Shubman Gill. I think Tripathi has to carry in the sense of scoring rate because Gill has to improve that a lot in his game. And I've got Nitish Rana at number 3, who's kind of flies under the radar, but he can be a decent player, I think.
Yeah, I think Rana's the high point of that top 3. There's Gill and Tripathi. Gill just hasn't scored fast enough, and Tripathi I just don't rate much. It's just look at what every other team's openers in top 3. And it's just not the same. Like it's just you don't get it.
Ryan, similar.
So I've gone with Gill and Rana up top,
All right.
and then Shakib at 3.
Yeah, I saw that as an option. I just want to start off talking about Shakib. I think he's a great purchase, and he's KKR. What they stuffed up. I remember we talked about it. They used him as a batter. I don't know why they thought he was a batter from a pinch hitter, but Shakib can be that player. I have him at number 4. I think he can work at number 4, and his bowling is probably better than Narayan as well. And I think he's
Yeah.
pretty important for them. He's my number 4.
Yeah. I mean, I assume it's Narayan you're dropping, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
That's interesting.
I just gotta say it says 10 minutes remaining again.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Let's keep going. So middle order. I mean, do you have Morgan or Russell at 4? Is the another question. I've been thinking Russell was underutilized last year, partly because he sort of got injured, but I think you should try and like same thing as Hardik, get Russell in the game, get him up at 4 as much as possible. Morgan and Kartik can be your hitters at the end. Yeah, I think you'd rather have Russell face the whole innings than Morgan, as good as Morgan is.
Well, I already said I've got Shakib at 4 because I want him to kind of hold it together rather than because the way they bat, they sometimes just like get out and like they go too hard too early. I think he can hold it together. I'll always have Kartik at number 6 no matter what. Like I don't think he should be promoted. I think he's a good finisher. And then if you keep it like that, it'd be Morgan 5, Russell 7. But obviously you never actually want to have Russell at 7 because you want to have him come in earlier. But if they all got out, it'd be Russell at 7 in that order.
So I've gone with Morgan, Russell, then Kartik as 4, 5, 6, and then Tripathi at 7, which I think is a better makeup of the team.
Yeah, so we have the same personnel, just in a different order, right?
Yeah.
The reason I haven't gone for Shakib is because I don't mind dropping Narayan. I think Narayan has been out of form, but I think the other international they want is Lockie Ferguson, he finished off the IPL so well last year. I think if they could easily get rid of Narayan and play Cummins and Ferguson together, and then you only have to play one of Marvi, Krishna, Nagakoti. Like I think that team still looks quite nice. I think Cummins and Ferguson could combine really well.
I think it just came to the spin thing.
Yeah, that could work. I just really rate Shakib. Like I think he's good. So
yeah, I think Ferguson won't get much of a go because of the sort of pitches they'll be playing on. But yeah, I mean, but the other question is which Indian paces do you go with? For KKR, like there's 3 good options.
I haven't really looked at the numbers, but I've gone Krishna because of his international experience now, and like he's probably got a bit of confidence in him now. And I've gone for Shiv and Mavi as well.
Mavi was pretty decent last year.
Yeah, but Nagakoti isn't bad.
Yeah, and I also have that Nagakoti's good and Sandeep Warrior, but I don't know about him.
Yeah, I think they gotta decide which paces they're playing early and stick with them. To be honest, so they get confidence. You don't want to be rotating like they've sort of rotated them too much last season. I think it was a bit like Hyderabad as well. You want to have set bowlers throughout your T20 season. I always think that. So I think getting the Indian paces right will be really important to KKR's season.
You know what they could do? So if they put Ferguson in, right? Ferguson in for your Shakib. That means you have to be Cummins at 7. Then you play Harbhajan over Marvi.
Yeah.
Because he's in that team as well. Like he's getting old now, but he still might be decent.
Yeah.
I have him as their second spinner because Chakravarti is their best spinner, then him, and then Kuldeep Yadav number 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't really talked about Chakravarti, but I think he's definitely in.
Yeah, I think we all know how much Kuldeep Yadav has declined, and that's just the way it is.
Chakravarti is definitely playing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so what do we think about KKR? Where they're going to finish?
So they're not going to make playoffs, I'd say.
Yeah, I put them.
I'd say fifth. Because the team in seventh is, yeah, I'd say fifth.
Yeah, I said sixth.
Yeah, I think they'll be either fourth or fifth. Depending on, I think I've done a very similar thing to Arch in terms of the team that he thinks is not going to do that well this year. I think I know which team it's going to
Yeah.
be.
I've already.
I'm thinking a similar thing. I think either that team or Kolkata will make the playoffs. They'll be fourth or fifth.
Right. Well, I think you probably could figure it out because I've already got my 4 finalists locked in.
Yeah.
I just pause now. Should we just keep starting new meetings? Yeah.
We sort of have to. Yeah. I don't know why this happens. Maybe it's
I think it's because of me. Well, I might make an account or something. I don't know.
I don't know.
Wait, how many left do we have?
Chennai, Delhi, I think.
Yeah.